leaders who are present here today. We want to welcome you. Thank you for being part of us. You're welcome. It's one that we are not familiar with this university, but which is very important in the area of agriculture, human resource development. There's an area that our country needs to focus on and develop is the ability to employ the human capacity that we have to be able to achieve our mission and our goals. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I had the pleasure this afternoon to invite a senior colleague, a friend, a brother, an elder, especially when there is crisis. Professor Micheal Tunde Ajayi from the Department of Education, College of International Development, to present his inaugural title, Human Resources and Agriculture, in the United Components of Future Development. Thank you for your attention.
Principal officers of the university, the dean collaborators, other deans and directors here, members of Senate and other colleagues, my Lord spiritual and temporal, friends of the university and special guests, erudite academics, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, gentlemen of the press, great Funabites. It is a great privilege and honor to present the 40th inaugural lecture of the Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta, Funa. This happens to be the first inaugural lecture to be delivered from the Department of Agricultural Administration. Of the College of Agricultural Management and Rural Development. In fact, FUNA is the first university offering agricultural administration and the second in Africa after the University of Ghana, Legon. I thank FUNA management for the opportunity to give an account of my academic stewardship in both the Research Institute and the university system. Today's lecture focuses on human resource management as it relates to agriculture. This is an important area of agricultural development which has not been given adequate attention in most developing countries, including Nigeria. The lecture of today is challenging because it affects all of us working in agricultural institutions. And this is an opportunity to also highlight the importance of agricultural administration in the agricultural sector. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, permit me to start this lecture by just explaining the concept of agricultural administration. Agricultural administration, in which the topic of this lecture, human resource management, is a major component. Simply, agricultural administration, just like you can see in Figure 1, is an integration of agriculture and administration, which can also lead to agricultural development. Agricultural administration is the act of directing, guiding, and coordinating the activities of members of staff of an agricultural organization with a view to achieving the objectives of that organization, Article 2007. Administration is a concept that deals with human, financial, and material resources, with the most critical component being human resources. The process involved in administration are usually connected with what we can see in Figure 2, that is, planning, organizing, staffing, directing, coordinating, reporting, and budgeting, just like in any administration. Mr. Vice Chancellor, agricultural administration is therefore an innovation to fill the gap of managing material, financial, and human resources of agricultural organizations with a view to achieving the objective in the organization. It is believed that effective and improved agricultural practice requires agricultural staff well equipped with necessary basic practical administrative knowledge and skills. Secondly, Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, agricultural administration is similar to other disciplines linked to administration, like you can see in Figure 3. That is, business administration, educational administration, public administration, health administration, hospital administration, nursing administration, and of very recently, agricultural administration. The interesting thing about all this, the integration of all these disciplines with administration, is that they are the same in basic principles of administration, but each addresses specialized and drawing an example from their different disciplines. For example, if somebody is talking about public administration, they will be talking about local government and public institutions. But in agric administration, we will be talking about agricultural organizations, that is the ADPs, agricultural research institutes, etc. And for the distinguished audience, just to say more about what the agricultural administration course is all about, and that is why I've given here, is a course of study as a Bachelor of Agricultural degree program in which agricultural administration students will take all agricultural courses like their counterparts in the BA program up to 400 level, and in final year, that is 500 level, take their major courses in the Department of Agricultural Administration and other related departments. You can see I've listed some of the courses you can take, even including some of the courses, compulsory courses you can take from related courses. But I don't want to boil you down on that. So let me move to what I want to talk about today, and that's the concept of human resource management in agriculture. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, there's an increasing evidence and recognition that what matters for development more than natural resources and man-made physical capital is human resource. To support this view, there's a biblical evidence in Genesis 1:26, which says that, and I quote, God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them rule over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over the earth, and over all creatures that move along the ground," unquote. This means that God has made this assertion that human beings are the ones to control all other things on earth for their benefits. To further highlight the importance of human resource management, Friday Oloko, in the Sunday Punch newspaper of November 11, 2012, wrote, and I quote, "Human assets are the active ingredients of development, while other resources are passive. It is therefore evident that no organization can rise above the quality, level of sufficient motivation, and knowledge of human assets." He went further that the main reason why the Technical Committee on Power Holding Company of Nigeria, PHCN, failed to attain the target of 4,000 megawatts between 2007 and 2009, despite good resources committed to it, was that tagging the committee as technical created the impression that all that matters most in attaining the 4,000 megawatts was power equipment rehabilitation, with the complete neglect of Human Affairs in PHCL. Leader 2001 defines human resource management as the process of assuring that competent employees are selected, developed, and rewarded for accomplishing organizational objectives. In general, human resource management aims at assuring that the employees of an organization are used in such a way that the employers obtain the greatest possible benefits from their abilities, and the employees obtain both material and psychological reward for their work. Graham, 1991. Therefore, with the rapid population growth in Nigeria, it demands for increased food production through proper management of human resources in the agricultural sector, which is the vein of any nation's economy. Any organization that will stand the test of time in highly competitive environments must necessarily adopt a realistic human resource system. This is because while the kingdom of heaven runs on righteousness, the organizations of this world are practically run by men, that is, human resources. Hence, it takes the effective management of human resources to enhance the survival of an organization. I want to briefly brief the issue of human resource management so that we can know how it has evolved. As with many disciplines, the study of managing people has witnessed a lot of name-naming over time. Mr. Vice Chancellor, it is interesting to know that human resource management started more or less with agriculture, as it started at the evolution of man, when man had to collect food and other materials. And during the 1800s, the United States economy also depended primarily on agriculture and small family businesses, and therefore, human resource management practices were then conducted by the most senior employees of that business. Human resource management as a specialized function in organizations began its growth about 1900. During this period, personnel function was largely administrative, without a personnel department, while equipment was cultural and the job was seasonal. Therefore, personnel function was then tagged labor administration. However, in the 1920s, employment became relatively stable and permanent, and hence the word staff was added to become labor and staff administration. In the first quarter of the 19th century, human resource management centered on individual employees, while in the second quarter of that century, it was focused on groups. And it was at this period that it was discovered that the employees had a stronger determination for their performance than wage incentive. Thus, labor was recognized as social beings whose needs and aspirations must be met, and therefore the term personnel administration was embraced. However, at this time, the act of managing people was still considered as civil routines which existed in popular manners, as anybody, whether line or staff managers, who follow these routines, and there seemed to be no need for creating a personnel department. Between 1950s and 1960s, improvements were made in the selection and training of employees, and it was realized that the management of people through manuals was inadequate. Consequently, a new name, personnel management, was adopted. There was also improvement between the middle 1960s and early 1970s with the creation of personnel departments in most organizations. This was not connected with the recognition that personnel management was more than mere record-keeping and organizing Christmas parties. By the beginning of the 1980s, more organizations became more concerned with their personnel management responsibilities. It was at this period that the name was changed to human resource management, and which we are still having today. This is because it adequately represented the wider and more complex activities involved in personnel functions. Now, what is the importance of human resource management in agriculture? It has become obvious that human resources are the lifeblood of an Even within the wonders of modern technology, human resources are the most versatile and adaptive resources available to many organizations. UN 1990 also reported that without the organization and management of the human resources, perhaps there will be no nations, state and land will be nasty, brutish, and short. Person 2002 said, and I quote, "Human resources management in agriculture is becoming a bigger issue in agriculture because farms have started going from single-family unit to multiple family and employees-dependent operations." Also by 2006, observed that human resource management as a managerial function plays an important role in agriculture, particularly in the management of large commercial farms and agricultural organizations. According to Abeokuta in 2003, efficient management of personnel working in agricultural organizations is essential to boost their morale and improve agricultural productivity. The organization are therefore highly dependent upon human resources for their success and survival. These dependence has become stronger because of new global challenges in the agricultural sector. These challenges are many, which include increased poverty, food insecurity, climate change, new technologies, and civil strife in many countries. Unless there is proper or adequate human resource management approach in the agricultural sector of most developing countries to tackle these challenges, the words of the one that nations will not exist without proper management of human resources management may come to pass. The reason for all this research is not far-fetched. According to Government 2001, not every agricultural specialist or professional can function effectively as a manager, administrator, or director. It is one thing to have academic qualification in agriculture, but it's another thing to be able to manage, administer, or direct agricultural programs and personnel effectively. More importantly, it is not everybody that can motivate staff to perform in order to achieve agricultural goals. Human resource management in agriculture is therefore an essential part of agricultural development. That is why the teacher said, and I quote, "It is an established fact that human resource management will have a profound impact on agricultural productivity per hectare, and productivity per worker employed. Human resource management, with all its powers, which is showing phenomenal success in other sectors of the economy, will definitely lead to increase in productivity and resolve inequality and conflict in agriculture." Challenges of human resource management in agriculture. Despite the importance of human resource to organizations and in agricultural production, it is the most difficult to manage. This is because, unlike materials, capital, and time, human beings have senses for instinct and ability to respond to or receive various stimuli that may be considered intolerable. And I know my leaders will agree with this statement. Furthermore, dealing with people presents many complexities due to differences in personalities, attitudes, or emotional levels, learning style, communication skills, and technical competencies. Despite these differences, the mission of the agricultural manager is for the director to get the task accomplished, as well as to motivate the employee to perform their responsibilities better. According to Yakubu, Ajayi and Abeokuta 2011, human resource managers are also faced with challenges which pose threats to the normal running of agricultural businesses. These challenges range from workforce diversity, emerging technologies, regulatory changes, structural changes to organization, and management changes within the organization. Actually, from 2007 also noted that the administration of management of agricultural program is challenging because many people are supervised over a wide area across Nigeria, whereby a variety of functions are performed and several sorts of management are involved. research contributions. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, my research contributions have been in two main areas, that is general agricultural extension and administration. But when I was told I would be giving this lecture, I just decided that what would I say within the 45 or 55 minutes given to me, and not to write more than 60 pages. Then I decided that I want to focus in few areas which look simple on surface, and many people overlook them, but they are, in actual fact, very vital to the survival of organization and productivity of that organization. And because of that, I'm focusing on recruitment and staffing in organization. Staff recruitment is an important administrative responsibility or function in any organization, because the quality of staff determines the success or failure of that organization. As regards agricultural institutions, recruitment of the right kind of people is important, because the job of actual staff calls for technical skills as well as commitment and willingness to educate the rural farmers. Ajayi and Mahmood, 2008. There are many methods of selecting staff for an organization. As regards the selection of agricultural staff, Vida and C, 1997, observed that generally agricultural organizations in developing countries use simple knowledge tests and brief interview to select agricultural staff. However, Ajayi and Mahmood, 2008, in their study, we wanted to find out what are the perception of the staff in the way staff are being recruited to that organization. And it was reported that agricultural staff of Theather Agricultural Development Program preferred oral interview and condemned the use of written tests as part of the selection process of candidates for agricultural jobs, which is shown in Table 1. You can see in that table, you can see the last one, which was highlighted there. You will see that they were against the use of written tests, which they didn't like at all. They were of the opinion that they higher level officers, they should not be tested, although a few of them during the focus group discussion acknowledged that the use of written tests is inevitable because of the number of people applying. However, Mr. Vice Chancellor, to be realistic with the current situation in Nigeria, which unemployment is high, it is actually inevitable to avoid the use of written tests in the selection process. I'm giving an example here. The Punch newspaper of 12 February 2013 carried a report on page 52 as follows. 16,000 applicants, target 100 vacancies in Judicial Commission. In a situation like that, management has no better option than to force feed out some people with a written test in order to get the best people for the positions. But the use of oral interview alone is very subjective. Generally, it is believed that the combination of methods is the most appropriate in selecting staff for agricultural organization, and the efficiency of simple method may not produce the desired candidates for that position. Training, which I'm going to be emphasizing more on this, importance of training. According to Theather 2001, for any organization to survive, it must train and develop its employees to enhance workers' performance. In support of this view, Yakubu and 2006 reported various staff development programs for agricultural extension agents in Abia and River States of Nigeria, which resulted in high level of job commitment and performance. Therefore, Ajayi 2001 reported that training can help in building national capabilities for agricultural research and food production in Africa by increasing the corps of competent research workers and extension personnel. The changing nature of agricultural science makes staff development and training for agricultural staff indispensable. Emphasis in all staff development programs should be to improve and enhance skills of employees to be more competitive. To further show the importance of training, even at farmers level, significant relationships have been found between training and adoption of technologies by farmers. Ajayi 2005, Ajayi Bafeki and Oka for 2008, Apumu and Ajayi 2010. However, training of staff has not been given priority in many agricultural institutes in Nigeria. Oyeyinka Ajayi and Bola 2010 found that more than half of the agricultural staff interviewed in 2 research institutes and ADP in Edo State, Nigeria, indicated that they have not gone for any service training in the previous 5 years. And you can see that in that table, which you can see that where is both, not at all, starting from 52.3 to 23. Mr. Tunde Ajayi of Face. I cannot forget Mr. Ajayi from our ICTL, and also my secretary, Mrs. Adebayo, Mrs. Yakubu, Mrs. Lamla, for our secretarial assistant in the College of Business. I'm also grateful to Professor Uduashi and Dr. Fabio for their assistance in the editing of this. To my children, Olawale, today. President Yakubu was a graduate of this university at the Abeokuta. I think today at the National Education Engineering Project of the University of Ibadan. And at the National Graduate of some children in Philippines but there are resources of God right to us. We are not every person this energy of God in UK that when you retire, you don't have to do that. I want to explain my half-head accusation from my dear wife. Which I tell you, interested students of Abeokuta University. A visiting friend at a dinner just asked me a question. Ajayi, what is the relevance of Islamic administration to the food we are eating here? I was so dazed because that was the time we were still thinking whether to be or not to be, but we are surprised that with NUC. My response was just as simple as follows. I said Abeokuta administration is just about management of resources, material and human resources in agricultural university. And therefore, as an administrator, one should make sure you recruit good candidates as researchers, extension officers, and agricultural workers. You train and develop them through capacity building. You motivate them and pay good salary. You are a busy man. Why are you talking about manager? He said, don't be selfish because your wife is the book. One on more important on the table. I said, more important on the table. And my president behind me is a drummer. Wonderful on the table. I thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I want you to join me and sing it and this song. I have to listen to great God in my life. I have a listening to praise the Lord.
Okay, sir.
Hey, I know.